CCS 101.1 FM and AM 1160. Good morning to you. Mr. Bob Pollock is with us here this morning. Just sharing some pictures with Bob of some damage we were talking about a little bit earlier. Our conversation with Bob Pollock brought to you by Marcus and Mack, a law firm representing injured people. You can give Bob a call at 479-1160 or 349-WCCS. Bob, we start with the question that came actually last week. We didn't see it in time to get it on for you. It came via Facebook, and folks, you can do that as well. Bonnie on Facebook asks this: what could be making my tomatoes mealy?
There's a good question.
This does not make compelling radio with you standing there saying nothing, Bob, while I'm on the phone.
Well, you know, trying to listen, and as well as think about, so now, what we don't know is when, was this last year's crop?
I'm assuming
it's tomatoes that she's harvesting now.
I'm assuming it's this year, and they haven't started to turn yet, but they're turning mealy already.
Well, you wouldn't know that unless you cut them open. Right?
I guess
there's
so,
There's some cellular breakdown there. So be interesting to know what the rest of the plant looks like. Are there effects on the foliage? What's the overall health of the tomato plant look like? Is it a good deep green color? Is it light? Is there some yellowing? Is the vigor of the plant not as good as it should be, and so those tomatoes aren't getting enough moisture, and they may also not be getting enough calcium and other nutrients that are allowing that tomato to become mealy inside. So,
Bonnie, we need more information from you in order to be able to answer your question. Okay, so if you can get in touch with us either by Facebook or by calling us at 349-WCCS or 479-1160, we'd appreciate that so we can take a better shot at answering your question. Meanwhile, we do have another caller this morning. Good morning to you.
Good morning. Hi, Dr. Bob.
Good morning.
I have a strange thing occurring on top of English ivy, underneath lilac bushes, and it's like a golden thread. And 3 years ago it wasn't there. Last year I noticed it, and this year there's a bunch of it. Any thoughts?
That sounds like a plant called Dodder, Dodder.
Okay.
You said there's no leaves on it. It just looks like it's a vine without leaves, and it's orange.
Exactly. And it looks like somebody took their mother's sewing machine apart and threw thread all over the place.
Yes, so that's a parasitic plant called Dodder, Dodder.
Okay.
It's fairly common around here. I just noticed some the other day that was growing up over top of some other plants, and it's pretty noticeable because of its orange color.
Right.
And but they are leafless, and they are twining, and they're parasitic, meaning they get their energy from feeding off of other plants.
Right.
And it's in the morning glory family, and I often see them every year around here, here and there.
Okay. And to me, they appear invasive.
They can be because of their parasitic nature. They're preying essentially on probably some plant that is desirable to you.
Right. Right.
So, and they can spread by seeds, and they can absorb. They can kill other plants if they entwine around them and remove enough energy from those plants that they can kill the host plant that they're on. And they can be yellow, orange, pink, or even brown in color. So they can vary a little bit in their coloration.
Okay.
So what does he do? Does he just yank it out of there?
Yeah, just
that's what I've been doing. the ivy to collect the stuff, and then I put it in with a garbage can.
Yes. Yeah, and we want to keep it from going to seed. It'll kind of get flowers and seed on top of it, and so that's one of the main ways to limit, how much is out there and how much it moves around, is to take it out of there before it can mature seed and drop those seed and spread them around.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Bob.
You are welcome.
All righty, thank you.
It's a very interesting and different plant.
Yeah. Interesting might not be the word I chose for that. I might have chosen another word altogether.
Like invasive or something like that.
That wouldn't have been that one either. In fact, the word would
Pestilence.
would not have started with the letter I at all. So the tomatoes have started to turn out in the garden.
Yes.
And the first one that turned also turned all rotten on the bottom of it. Bum, bum, bum.
Yeah,
I don't want that to happen.
Blossom end rot.
Yeah, blossom end rot going on there.
Most likely going back to all the dry weather we had.
Yeah.
Hot, dry weather, the plant's not taking up enough moisture. Mm-hmm. You could have adequate calcium in the soil.
Yeah.
But if there's not enough moisture for the plant to take up, then that can happen.
Yeah.
And so we get a deficiency. Oftentimes it's just for a period of time. It won't be, not all the tomatoes will get that, and it won't be out throughout the entire season, but just that segment of time when that tomato was, especially right after pollination, when it starts to develop, if it can't take up enough calcium and get that into the system, then we can end up with some blossom end rot.
Something else that I've noticed, the grapes, I've got more grapes this year than I've had in recent years. They look like they're very plentiful. However, a bunch of them have little dark spots on them.
Black rot.
Bum, bum, bum.
Which extremely common. It's probably hard to find some grapevines that do not have that hovering around somewhere, either on the vines themselves, on the leaves, and especially, of course, on the fruit. You'll get a black dot on there. It's like you took a marker and made a dot on the fruit, which then continues to grow and develop, consume the individual grapes, turn them brown, dry them up like raisins eventually.
Yeah.
And you'll get nothing from that.
They taste nothing like raisins.
No.
Let's take another caller. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hello.
Good
Paul
morning.
Wolf. I've got a question for Bob. We have a hickory tree out at the farm that looks like all the nuts have been destroyed with some kind of a fungus. Does he know anything about that?
A hickory tree, did you say?
A hickory tree. All the nuts have been destroyed.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, it looks like some kind of a fungus on them. Never seen anything like that.
That's possible. Because they wouldn't be mature yet, but have they dropped, or are they still hanging on the tree?
They're still hanging on, Bob.
Okay, but is there spots all over the outside?
There is, yep.
Yeah, darker spots.
Darker spots. Looks like something even bored into them.
Well, and that's also a possibility. There are some borers that can get it, not only hickory, but walnut, butternut. And just depending on the year and the timing, that can enter in, but also some of these diseases. And it could be anthracnose is a possibility. But that usually attacks early on, just as those nuts are developing and can get started. And earlier in the season, after pollination and when in this case the nuts were starting to develop, we did have a lot of wetting periods that could have promoted that. There probably was some there from previous years, but it wasn't as noticeable or, not noticeable enough that it, you still had got plenty of nuts from it. And then that built up enough, the inoculum, and spread around that it had the conditions it needed to get going this year.
Well, is there any cure for it, or do you just have to let Mother Nature take its course?
Yeah, usually on hickory nuts, unless, those are just wild trees that have...
Yes, they're just natural trees, yeah.
Yep. Usually on those, we just let them go and hope for a better crop next year.
Okay.
In a cultivated situation, or if it was, a tree, one of those even native ones that really produce nice hickory nuts, you might think about you could spray it, especially early in the season, would help reduce the chance of that. But in most cases, we, on those native trees, we just let them go and let nature take its course.
And apologize to your squirrels.
Yeah, they're not going to have a very good feast this year.
They might, they might have to go to the neighbors to get some.
All right, Paul.
Well, thank you, Bob.
You're welcome.
All right, so there you go. He's got
All
some
kinda-
unhappy squirrels happening
Yeah,
in
all
his place.
kind of different things like that. And every year, and we were wetter earlier. We had cooler, wetter conditions earlier, which can help promote some of those types of diseases to get started in the spring. On another year where it warmed up quicker and we maybe had a little drier weather or some dry spells and wet spells, getting through pollination time and getting the fruit going, we can be fine.
Let's see if we can squeeze this last one in.
Okay.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hi. Hey, I have an oak tree, and this oak tree has the ends of all the branches are being cut off, and they fall to the yard. There are many of them every day, and of course you just run the lawnmower over them. But it looks like they are cut with shears. They fall into my yard, and especially upset they fall into the neighbor's yard, and there's a lot of them. This is the first year that this mature oak tree's ever had this problem.
What's he got?
Couple possibilities there. There are a couple twig borers that can cause that to happen. Now, usually on those pieces that fall, you'll be able to slice that stem open and find that there might be something feeding in there, or there'll be a hole in there that weakened that branch. So that borer is inside the stem and weakens it. And then if we get a little bit of wind, or a storm front come through, or, even gets wet and windy, then those will snap and come down.
Yes.
Yes. So that's a possibility. And then also sometimes squirrels will do that. They'll go up there and just chew through that, and you'll get more branches than you can imagine coming down. But that's also a possibility as well.
Okay. This is a very big tree, and there's no way I could possibly spray it.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All righty, there you go. That was a pretty active day here today. We've got squirrels that are angry all over the place.
Yeah. There's a lot of them. Same thing with rabbits.
We got to go. It's Indiana in the Morning on WCCS.